Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Welcome to the first aXcelerate Client Forum for 2023. My name's Amina. I'm just doing a quick intro for you, but I will be back to present later. My role this morning is to just give you a bit of housekeeping. So the first thing I wanted to let you know is this session is being recorded. You will receive a copy of this after the session. I will also let you know we do have some questions that can be answered via our Zoom Q&A section, but I do want to let you know that there is a small bug with Zoom at the moment in their Q&A. So if unfortunately we don't get to answer all of your questions there, we do apologise in advance. Some questions will be answered in chat, but some will be deferred to the end for our presenters to answer for you live in session. In terms of what we're going to cover today, first up, we've got our CEO, David O'Rourke, who will give you a business update and highlight reel. From there, Julian, our product owner, will let you know what's coming in 2023 with some special guests, Learning Vault and Turnitin. Wes, one of our senior technical support officers, will give you some tips and tricks on the aXcelerate system. Then I'll be back with Brendan, our operations manager, to let you know what we've been up to in our client engagement, and then we'll go through a bit of a Q&A. So we hope you enjoy it. We thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I know February is an incredibly busy month for everyone, so I appreciate you spending the next 90 minutes with us. Thanks so much.
And good morning, everybody. Firstly, to Amina, thank you very much for the kind introduction. As Amina stated, I am David O'Rourke. I'm the CEO here at aXcelerate, and I'm going to take you through a few different elements today. One is a quick update on the last 6 months in our world and in the business. And then we're going to do something a little bit different to what we've done in the past. So I'm going to take you through all of the key features and functions that we've added to the product in the last 6 months. But I'm going to do it more through the lens of why we did those things and what we feel the benefits are from those services that we've brought to you. And finally, what we've learned and what we might do differently or what we might add to those products as we go. So the reason I'm doing that, and the reason I'm doing that a bit differently, is we invest a lot of time in creating videos and shots and what's news to try and share with you how those things work. So I thought rather than do a demo, and I'm fortunate for those looking forward to seeing Katie do the demo, I'm not as good at her as those parts. I thought it would be better to give you a bit of an insight into the why and how they might be used and hopefully the benefits that you see from that. So without further ado, let me jump into the business update, and I'll keep it short and sweet. Just one slide, which is designed to take you through what I consider to be our proudest moments in the last 6 months, or actually in the last full year. So last year for us, we celebrated a big milestone. We crossed the precipice of 1,000 clients, and that continued over the last 6 months to reach 1,075, which for us is a massive achievement, the one we're probably proudest of. That represents approaching 1/3 of all of the RTOs that exist in our great country, and we certainly don't think that we're done yet. On top of that, despite lots of economic pressures around Australia, we, together with you, have grown our learner base from 1.5 million active learners a year to 1.85 million. Again, a very proud achievement for us. That means for our business, we're touching the lives of close to 2 million students every year, and hopefully making better outcomes for them in their learning and changing their lives. We also launched Work-Based Learning, a service we've talked about a number of times, including on the last client forum. So we'll talk a little bit about how that's gone. Something you may not know, we delivered a product called Continuous Professional Development. At the moment, that product is specifically for one client. It's not something that we've offered to everybody else, but it is definitely something more under the guise of what we call enterprise role-based learning that we will be looking to proceed with in the RTO segment and beyond as an opportunity to extend what we offer our clients today. In terms of uptime, the most important thing to any of our existing clients is that the service you bought is available and performant. And I'll talk to that and what we've done. But we have a very difficult target of 99.9%. And we're very proud of the fact that actually for the last 6 months straight, that has sat at 100%, which is testament to our great engineering team and the work that we've been doing on the platform. From a client satisfaction perspective, another result we're very proud of, but we're also very aware it's not the only way to judge satisfaction. But we reached 98.2% on CSAT, which is our customer satisfaction ratings, which basically means 98.2% of people who interacted with our client services team over the last 6 months were satisfied with the experience they had on that call. To give you industry benchmarks, about 80% is what most technology businesses aim for. 98.2% for us is something we're very proud of, but also something that we will not stop in terms of trying to pursue further excellence. Our team has grown. So I believe we were close to 60 staff at the last financial year. Around about 6 months ago, that would have been closer to 70. We've continued to add more people to our team, and we're certainly not done yet. The major areas of investment for us continue to be in the development team and the product teams to continue to innovate on the services that we provide today. And again, retention. I know I mentioned that the number of clients we have is our greatest achievement. That's only possible because of the fact that we retain the clients that we worked so hard to attract in the first place. So 98.5% of our clients, and this includes what we consider to be preventable and non-preventable churn, are still with us at the end of 2022 from those that were there at the start. That's an impressive performance for us as a business, but it's also a nice sign that our clients are happy with the service we provide, but also continuing to flourish as businesses. And then the last one, which is the little cherry on top, and we don't normally enter too many of these things, but we're proud to say that at the end of this month, we will go to the Queensland State Finals of the Telstra Business Awards in 2 separate categories around our growth and around innovation. So hopefully 6 months from now, we've got some even better news to share with you, which is that we won, but let's not count our chickens before they hatch. It's a great achievement for our business to actually reach the finals. I think that puts us in the top 1 to 5% of all of the people that entered across the country in every category. So that's all I'm going to talk to from a business perspective and how we've gone in the last 6 months. The focus and probably what you're much more interested in is what are we doing now? And also what have we learned in the last 6 months? So as I said, traditionally in these sessions, you've had the much more articulate and much more intelligent Katie, who's taken you through live demonstrations of the things that we've built over the last 6 months. I decided to do that a bit differently this time, mainly because I thought we invest a lot in creating collateral, which you can use at any time to hopefully allow you to see the product in action through videos and demonstrations. So I thought it might be more beneficial. And by all means, at the end of this, if you want to leave any feedback, if you preferred the old method and you prefer to see more product in action rather than the why of how we made the decisions and what we hoped we've delivered for you, then please let us know because we can revert to that format or we can find a hybrid in between if you want a bit of both. So the point here is we do have release notes that come out with all of our releases every 2 weeks. We also have What's New videos. That's something that we did last year for the first time. So each month we produce a very short 2-minute video, which has Julian's wonderful voice on it that takes you through all the things that we have done in the last month that we're proudest of. That is deliberately designed as a snapshot, just to show you very quickly, this is what we did. The release notes, the shots, all the other stuff is still there for you to go and get the details. So please, please, please subscribe and please take a moment each month to look at those things. Okay, so I'll go through a number of different points. The first one I think is the most important of all, and it's a lot of the stuff that you don't see and hopefully you never hear, and that is around cybersecurity. So that there is no doubt in what we do as a software as a service and a cloud hosted business, that the thing that is the greatest risk to us and the greatest risk to you is the personal data that you put into our service that we host on the internet every single day. We take that responsibility extremely seriously, and we recognize that some of the biggest companies in Australia, despite their very large security teams, have been hacked in the last 6 months. I can't sit here as a CEO and tell you that will never, ever, ever happen to us. That's not a possibility that's in my control. But what I can tell you is we invest very seriously in trying to make sure that A, it's very difficult for it to ever happen, and B, should it ever happen, we will detect it very quickly and have very mature processes of how to deal with it. And they are the things that you can see on this slide. So ISO 27001 is, for me, a ticket to play in our industry. That's an information security standard which governs everything that we do in our engineering and our product to make sure that security is at the heart, not only of our ethos, but also our implementation. TPES, for those who don't know, TPES is a government extension, which we have applied and been successful for. And what that does is basically put more belts and braces on your security policies and ensuring that you're a right fit for risk. During 2022, we formally reached TPES accreditation. And also during 2022, we also successfully re-attained our ISO 27001 and TPES during its annual audit. On top of that, we added ISO 9001, a quality standard that's applied across our entire business. The second thing that we did last year is we implemented a security information event monitoring service, or a SIEM, as it's known in the industry. And that's the beautiful picture that you see on the right. And what that is for is to enable us to automatically detect and set up very sophisticated logging for any intrusion attacks onto our infrastructure. So the idea there is it will tell us extremely early if anything is happening that we didn't expect. And to give you an idea, some of the stats that you see there are from literally 1 week in January with regards to how many times malicious intent was detected on the platform and rejected. So for us, that in combination with the second point, or the third point rather, which is our annual penetration testing, are the best ways for us to confirm that all of the processes and policies that I talked about are actually translating into actions that stop malicious attacks being successful. We've also added a number of other elements like SonarQube for the software developers out there. What that is effectively an automated testing for all of the code that we commit to our repository to ensure it was developed with security in mind. And then the last one on the list, which is SendMark, that's actually a good corporate citizen policy. And what that's designed to do is actually to stop people using our email accounts to spoof you. So in other words, making emails appear on your inbox that look like they came from us, that never originated from us, designed for phishing or other things to try and, again, do something, I guess, that is not wanted by your business. So they're the things that we do from a data protection perspective. The next element relates to performance, and what do we do to make sure the service is both available but also performant. So I've already mentioned that we have had a 6-month period of 100% uptime. Uptime is one thing, performance is another. So we have done a number of things to help us automate what we call elastic scaling, or rather what the industry does. There's a technology from Amazon, which is whom we host, which is called Aurora. We've leveraged that heavily across the platform in the last 6 months. And what that does is automatically enable our platform, particularly the application servers, to scale to spikes in demand. And so the idea is that you maintain availability, but also performance across those applications without having to have oversized servers and excessive costs in the business for no reason. The other side, to be transparent on, and I know this has happened a few times in the last year, is the database servers. So the database servers is what we moved everybody onto their own or smaller groupings of clusters, what we previously called sharding. That is the other part of our platform which defines performance. And the actions of one can impact others where you share infrastructure on a cluster. But we have worked very hard to insert lots of active monitoring and to automatically alert us to when we start to see that a shard is undersized. And for example, earlier this week, we made the decision to increase the scale on one of our clusters because we'd seen that it was starting to reach the top of its threshold. And that allows us to very quickly respond, not automatically. It does require us to take the servers down. But that's the sort of thing that we do now to ensure that you're not only having access to the platform, but that it remains performant. There's a number of other things that we've done along the way and that we continue to do. For example, performance enhancements on our Moodle integration, which do have impact and benefit for all, even if you're not using that. But beyond that, there's a commitment from the business towards 7 individual projects, which are designed to basically optimize the platform, but also make it far easier for us to develop on. And so again, without going too deep into all the technologies involved, what it does is it moves us from a monolith to microservices, which allows us to break up how we develop. It allows us to make each of those elements more performant and to be end of life if necessary. But it also makes it much faster for us to add developers for them only having to know their domain as opposed to having to know the whole platform. So there's some of the things happening in the background. They're not the things that you will hear and see every day in features and release notes from Julian. But I believe that performance and security are probably the number 1 and 2 things that if we took a poll, that you would say are the most important of every single element of our platform. And that's why I wanted to let you know that we agree and that we're doing something about that. Okay, so on to the first significant feature that was released in the last 6 months. And I thought I'd start with why. So we've had feedback from lots of clients and our own experience for quite a long time now that it was very important for you to remain closely engaged and aware of what your students are up to and any challenges that they might have as they move through their learning journey with you. So what is very clear is that if you don't have a tool that is allowing them to give you that feedback, then one of 2 things happen. You either don't get it, and therefore you don't truly understand the sentiment of your learners, or you get it manually. And that's either through all sorts of different systems or phone calls that are highly inefficient in your business and make it difficult for you to track. And fundamentally, you lose control of that student engagement experience. So what we embarked on was a process of how could we create, firstly, what we call learner help requests, but more long-term, a messaging service that would allow us to engage learners and in time, other ways, to actually communicate directly with you and for you to stay in control of those conversations and to manage the triage and responses such that you don't create the floodgates of, here's all these requests from students that we aren't staffed to deal with. So what we've developed is what we call learner help requests. And the idea is on the right of each of these slides, when I talk about it, you'll see some level of demonstration of what it does. Obviously, we can go a lot deeper with you if you've already tried it and have issues, or if you'd like to know more. But the idea here is this product was launched in Q3 of last year. It has an internal dashboard, which is designed for your admins or your trainers to view and configure how you wish to deal with learner help requests. From a learner perspective, they issue their requests via the learner portal. And you can see that happening in the demonstration that's on the video on the right. Effectively, they press the little question mark in the bottom right hand of the screen. It allows them to generate a request about anything they want at all. And then that request is sent along with any files, should they choose to upload files to help you understand the problem, through to the admin dashboard and for the trainers to actually view and for the admins to assign. So the idea is that you can then communicate internally about the issue if you're trying to work out a little bit more about it or formulate a plan on what the response should be, but equally that you can then go back to the learner in a controlled manner and respond and create an engagement with them that allows them to get to the outcome that they wanted and get the help that they need. All of that will reside in their contact record. So there's a full history for you to go back and an audit trail that helps you to show engagement for your learners. But on top of that, there's the ability for the trainer themselves, if set up appropriately, to initiate those messages to the learner if they'd like to reach out to them. But also there's the ability for you to manage the expectations of your learner base by setting up auto replies, which allow you to say that when a student has sent you a request, they get some response quickly, which acknowledges for them that you've seen it, but also acknowledges what is your intended response to them so that you can buy some time if you have not yet set up your business operationally to deal with that quickly, or if you know that with the volume of requests that come in, it traditionally takes you X amount of time to formulate a plan. So we think that this service is a great addition to our platform to enable you again to create a better learner experience. But we also know that there's more that needs to be added to it in order for it to become, I guess, what we envisaged or what Julie and the product team have envisaged that it could be. So a few things on the roadmap. Deliberately, when I say on the roadmap, I'm not saying when, because I don't want to create expectations that we can't fulfill. But these are some of the items that we understand would make learner help requests a better service, and that we understand would also give you benefits far beyond what we originally envisaged simply with a learner help request system. So number one, we understand that it should be available in the native apps, not just via the learner portal. Number two, we get that it would be a lot better if you can automatically, in one way or another, link help requests to some form of context. So in other words, linking a help request to an assessment or a particular course. Equally, if you had such linkage, it would make it far easier for us to start setting up some complex rules that take some of the admin burden out of managing learner help requests to automatically assign certain styles of requests to certain people in your organization based on context. And then the last one, which I know for my own benefit, but also generically in the system has been requested a number of times. Learner help requests is step one. What we actually built was a messaging framework, and learner help requests is simply the first embodiment of that. In time, we can extend that to all sorts of other things, including discussion forums, which is the ability, obviously, to bring groups of people together to talk about subjects that obviously are of benefit to their learning. So know that those things are on our roadmap. They have been understood, and there's probably others as well that we'd love to hear from you about. But fundamentally, those things are what we believe is what you can hope to see in the future of our messaging/learner help requests product. So the next one, managing on-the-job training. So this is the genesis behind a several-year project that I don't know that we ever fully shared, which is why is it that we embarked on the product that's known today as work-based learning? And the reason, it actually predates my time in the business, but I think it was an outstanding decision, is that we saw a market gap for an integrated on-the-job training management solution. There were a number of systems that sat disparate to the student management system or the learning management system, but we didn't see any that truly took advantage of where we see on-the-job training going and where we see the future of a digital logbook. So clearly the benefits that we set out to achieve was number one, and I think you'd all agree this is extremely important in all that you do, particularly in a tough economic time, a better learner and supervisor experience. So that if we can create tools that allow you to give a better learner and supervisor experience, then hopefully that's another reason for employers to sign up as someone to deliver on the job training and learners to choose your RTO over a competitor. Secondly, we wanted to automate what we see as a very laborious and manual task. So the logbook definitely feels to me like something that hasn't caught up at all with what technology enables. And we believe that in time, it's the sort of area that the likes of AXCEL would look at as an opportunity for a better experience if technology enabled the digitization of that logbook. So we wanted to get ahead of that curve. And that is about streamlining compliance as well. Creating a mechanism that shows evidence, shows attendance, and allows an employer a very simple way to create a digital impression of a worker in their business that is going through some form of learning. The challenges, and there's several, and I'm certainly not going to purport that we've nailed it perfectly and that there's not more to do. Number one, we knew it would be important to make it easy to onboard, and that is for both the RTO and for the supervisor, but also that we would only charge for that product's use when you had on-the-job training occur. Secondarily, we want it to be simple for the employer to access and use. Again, if the employer doesn't use this wonderful digital system, then it all falls apart. And thirdly, it needed to be broad enough to cover all the use cases of a very wide range of clients that we support today or would like to in the future with respect to the varying on-the-job training needs. The solution we came up with, pretty obvious. We developed an end-to-end product that integrated on-the-job training into an SMS and LMS ecosystem. And ta-da, that's what we call work-based learning. So the product launched formally in Q3 last year. It had certainly been in open beta and closed beta with a smaller cohort for longer than that. It includes an admin dashboard from the student management system, which is where you go and configure and set up everything to do with your work-based learning. So in other words, the employers, all of the different scope that you want to include into there and how you will manage that process for your students through their learning. The supervisors and the learners both have their own app, and the supervisor app, again, I'll talk about in a second, but that comes with its own challenges when you're requiring supervisors to download an app. The activities linked to units of competency. So what is, in our eyes, quite a manual process currently is the ability to link the activities that are undertaken in and on-the-job training placement with what is actually required from the units of competency that you need to demonstrate as an RTO to accredit a learner. So there's a lot of ways to do that, but we certainly recommend that you leverage the training record books for those who've got them to manually copy activities across into the system. But again, we recognize that we're learning as well about how you will use work-based learning and what knowledge resides in your business, what knowledge resides in the employer, and how our tools make that all possible and simple for you in a day-to-day scenario. We deliberately built this service such that it's charged on use. So it's effectively pay as you go. And that's because we recognize that for the vast majority of our clients, on-the-job training is a percentage of your students. It's not all of your students. And that there is no rate card specifically for it because no two placements are alike. Some placements go for a couple of days. Some placements go for several years. So it's a price on application charged per use that is designed to align what we earn from it to the value that you get from it. But critically, you're charged once per placement, irrespective of duration. We've done work to enhance the exporting from the logbooks. And we've also, which is kind of an adjacent point, a lot of people, I think, originally saw work-based learning as kind of the learner app from aXcelerate. That was never our intent. The learner app includes work-based learning, and over time, the learner app will continue to mature to a point where one day maybe it replaces entirely the learner portal for those people who want to do things from a phone. So a part of that is learning plans are now also available within the app, which is just moving that forward. So what did we learn? Number one, we've learned that lots of people are interested in this product, but that if we don't provide training to the clients of ours that take this product on, that it's unlikely for you to understand how to adopt it or implement it cleanly. So we will be working closer with those clients that have already decided that they'd like to use work-based learning, but also any of you who are interested and want to move forward with it, then we will help you with specific training around how do you implement work-based learning for your business. We've also learned that in certain scenarios, and it's definitely not all, but in certain scenarios where we're asking an employer to mandate their supervisors to download an app, and that app is downloaded on their personal phone in order to manage on-the-job training for learners that they're looking after, that creates some barriers. Some people aren't happy to download an app on their personal phone and don't feel they should have to. So we understand that, and we're trying to consider, well, how could we do that via a portal or equivalent so that they're actually going to a website that is mobile responsive instead of a native app. But we also understand that that's not the case for many of our clients, and that isn't a problem for many of our clients. So we have to assess for how many people that is a problem to work out how much of a priority we give that, because frankly, that's quite a lot of work to build that whole experience into a portal as well as an app. Consolidated checklists for supervisors. So this is about simplifying the task and ensuring that you as an RTO, when you want to confirm that a certain unit of competency has been demonstrated by learners under a supervisor, that we make that process easier. And that's something Julian and the guys here refer to as activity goals, which will be something we work more towards over the next 6 to 12 months, but that too is a big project. And this is just one part of that. We understand also that simplifying supervisor workflow is extremely important. And we've tried to do that, but we'll continue to evolve that. And the reason for that is we may have access to you as the RTO for training, but we don't have access to the employer to train them on what we do. So it has to be very, very simple for them to use and understand if we're going to get them to do that instead of a manual logbook. Because believe it or not, some of them prefer a paper and pen. And then ensuring that the RTO is aware of the supervisor, of how the supervisor manages learning. So that's the other part that we too are learning, which is, I guess there are elements that as an RTO you aren't always aware of that a supervisor does to demonstrate competency in certain tasks. So to enable you to set the system up properly for them, we need to go deeper in understanding your business, but equally understanding what happens in the employer side. So the abbreviated version, we think work-based learning is off to a hell of a start. It has had significant market uptake in a very short period of time. But now, if we're going to make the product the success that we believe it could and should be, our focus is shifting more from the product to the operationalization, which is a hell of a word, of that product so that people can actually get the benefit and implement it, not just feel the functionality is attractive. Next one, and I hope there's no more big words like that. So this one is a fairly simple one. We have been asked for quite a period of time to continue giving you more options when it comes to payment gateways. We support EasyPay, we support eWay, and there is no intention to deprecate or underplay either of those. In fact, we'll continue, as has been shown in the January release, to do more things to make those services better over time. But we also understand that there are other payment gateways out there that may offer different things, or maybe just the ones that you prefer in your business. And so we've been looking at how do we offer not just different payment gateways, but more payment options for your learners, things like Google Pay, Apple Pay, Afterpay. So why we've done this, pretty obvious. The more payment gateways we provide, the less barriers we create for you to sign up to us, but also for your learners to sign up to you. And so what we've done recently is to add another payment gateway, which is Stripe. For those of you who don't know Stripe, it's obviously one of the largest in the world. Very, very significant market presence. And one of the benefits of that is they've actually got fairly, very mature interfaces and setups that make it pretty easy for you guys to onboard onto their platform, should you choose to switch from whatever you're doing today, or should you see additional benefits in something that they provide. So we formally launched that in Q4 of last year. It might have been closer to Q3. The onboarding and the integration is quite a bit different to what you see with EasyPay and eWay, and that is actually because of the maturity of their tools. So a lot of what we do pushes your registration directly to their interface because their interface is fantastic. And there's no point us investing to re-spoke the wheel if it's already fit for purpose as it is. So some of the things that are great in that, for those interested or for those requiring a buy now, pay later option, which is certainly something that lots of millennials and students out there like to use for paying for services. We've managed to, via Stripe, add Afterpay onto our service. Afterpay, that is one of the first times that they've allowed their service to be used in the education space. So it's a bit of a coup for us here at aXcelerate, but we need to make sure that's fit for purpose. Obviously, there's extra charges to you and your business if you use Afterpay, but the benefit is you don't have any of the credit risk with regards to the students' payments of the whole sum. So that also gives us the integration to Stripe, Google Pay and Apple Pay, along with the standard things you'd expect from credit cards and direct deposits. Something to be aware of. Some people like it, some people don't. The way that accounts reconciliation is handled via Stripe is different to other payment gateways in that they do a lump sum daily reconciliation. So in other words, rather than seeing lots of individual transactions in your bank account each day, you will see one large transaction each day, and you'll have to go into Stripe to work out what that payment was comprised of. Again, depending on how you run the business, that can be no problem at all. That can be good, or that can be an issue, but it's just something to be aware of with respect to how Stripe does reconciliations. A lot of people have already asked if Stripe and our integration is intended to add payment plans. Payment plans is frankly just more effort, not on their side, on our side. We need to build more in our software to enable that. And we have considered it for the future. It's not currently a high priority for us, but it is something that we can and will do if the demand is there from you to use Stripe and payment plans. Again, acknowledging that payment plans are already available and supported today through EasyPay. So you have the opportunity to do it today. If you would really like the opportunity to do it via Stripe, and again, noting services like Afterpay, which is a pseudo payment plan for the student, then please reach out and let us know. But the basic message overall with regards to integrations relating to payment gateways is if you want to know more, please reach out to our support team, ask the question. With it, when it pertains to Stripe or Afterpay, we will introduce you directly to them. Both of them are very eager to sign up more clients, so they may be able to help you out on rates more than they normally would. And Afterpay is definitely open to also to promoting your business more to try and drive students toward it by having your tiles sit on their marketplace. So there's things there that we can do if they're of interest to you. From a calendar synchronization perspective, and I'll try and speed up, We have known for a long time that having a great calendar within the aXcelerate product only doesn't really work as your businesses evolve, particularly when most of you live in either Google or Outlook for the day-to-day running of your lives. So when we built the service, obviously we were trying to do a one system solution for everything, but we also recognized that having the ability to set everything up cleanly from within aXcelerate is the primary goal, but wouldn't it be nice if you could then synchronize that automatically to the rest of your calendar so that you don't end up missing appointments, unintentionally setting up conflicts. What we've also worked out, and obviously we've had some feedback from you guys, is that clearly Google is not enough on its own, and that was never our plan. It was just the first one. So the challenges that we've tried to overcome in the solutions that we build is, number one, we understand that you want one system to set up the appointment, but you also need the agility that if you move the appointment in either calendar, that it will dynamically adjust in the other. And hopefully what we've built does that for you. So the message from us, in Q3, we released Google Calendar. We have actually at the same time been working on Outlook Calendar. And I don't want to commit a date, but I would be very, very, very surprised if in the next client forum that's not live. In fact, I'm hoping that will be somewhere over the next quarter. So Google Calendar integration and Outlook Calendar integration will provide very, very similar use cases, just obviously connecting your aXcelerate account to either a Google account or an Outlook account. Thereafter, your events and workshops get set up in aXcelerate as per normal, but they will automatically get synchronized to the calendar of whomever you connected your service with. The adjustments made to appointments, as I just said, once the appointment is set up, it can only be set up in aXcelerate, but once the appointment is set up, adjustments to that appointment on either side will be reflected in both sides. And as I said ad nauseum now, we have heard you. In fact, we did consider for a while not releasing Google Calendar until we had Outlook Calendar, because we knew the day we did, you would ask, where's Outlook? But because we finished Google first, we pushed it out. As soon as we have Outlook available, we will push that out to market as well. Template Builder, this is a quick one. So the Template Builder is a quality of life improvement. So we've understood the importance to a full functional student management system. A lot of that sits around workflows and automatically setting up templates for emails. We've had a great template builder for a long time, but it's become more and more full featured with more and more fields, and a little bit more difficult for you to use unless you're an aXcelerate aficionado. So what we did is give it a fresh lick of paint, add a template fields section on the right-hand side, as you can see in the picture that's on the screen. And the idea here is that it allows you to pick and mix whatever you want from all of the different fields to very quickly create dynamic templates, including search functionality along the way, that would allow you to get the absolute most out of the templates from our platform with the minimum knowledge of the service and the minimum time taken to do so. So I hope that service update has been well received, and I'm sure the guys aren't done, because to be candid, probably some of the most direct feedback that we get from our clients is that there's a lot of services like Template Builder that exist within our student management system that over time have become more and more complicated, or the user experience has got a bit more challenging, that you wish we'd put more time into going back and addressing. This is an example of us doing that. We know we need to do more of them. And that's all the things I just said that I forgot there was a second slide for. So the next one is key account contacts. So this is another one related to actually how we communicate with you. So the very simple version is previously the key contact was a field set up by aXcelerate and only us. And we used that field predominantly for any communication that we needed to send you that we felt was urgent for you to be aware of. So that could be a service interruption, that could be something to do with changes to billing or usage, any number of different things. The problem with that is we had no way of knowing if the contact was right unless you told us. And so over time, as things change in a business and individuals move on or their roles change, we would find that the contact that we had judiciously been sending all sorts of communication to was in fact not related to this project or the business anymore. So what we did is two things. Number one, we created an account owner and key contacts. So the idea here now is that the account owner by default gets told everything. The key contacts may get told everything or just certain pieces of information that you choose. That's step one. Step two is we've also put in place the ability for you to change these roles. So what that means is we will always set it up as part of onboarding to make sure we've got someone that you have told us that we can put information that we think is critical to your knowledge into the service. Now there's an ability for you to change that over time. The reality is there's still a problem in that there's nothing that automates this if there's changes in your business. So in other words, we've put the onus on you and us now to ensure this information is correct. But if you don't tell us or we don't ask periodically, then there is still a risk that critical information about the sorts of fields you see in the panel on the right doesn't get to the right people at the right time. So it's definitely a service improvement for the sharing of key data. But I would say again, please be aware that as your admin in the business, we really want your help here to make sure this information is right, to make sure you're getting all the information that you need. And I believe that is all she wrote. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Julian to talk more about the exciting stuff about what's coming up next, as opposed to what we've already done so far.
Hey everybody, it's good to be here talking about what's upcoming in the system. As Dave said, you might recognize me from some of the What's New videos or see me interacting on the client forum and ideas forum. So it's good to be able to be here and talk about all of the exciting stuff that we're working on at the moment. So just to first preface this section, this is by no means everything that we're working on, and we'll definitely be adding far more than what we're covering here over the next year. This is just going to be a bit of a summary of what the stuff is that we're working on at the moment, where we have a bit more clarity over when these things are going to land and what specifically they will entail. So the first one to talk about is digital badging with Learning Vault. So what we've seen is a trend in the desire for accessible and shareable verified digital credentials that both learners and employers can easily access, to see record of a learner's training, as well as having a single place to collate learning evidence from possibly multiple platforms that may or may not be within aXcelerate. So to address this, we're going to be doing an integration with Learning Vault to be able to issue badges through aXcelerate. So the way that this will work is that those credentials will be issued, and then you'll be able to access them via the Learning Vault backpack. And there will also be support for QVault, which is an AQF compliant digital credential that they've been working on. And so what we're going to do next is actually hand over to Learning Vault to have them talk us through their service and their platform and give a bit of an overview on how that will work within their system.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the opportunity to address you all today on a topic that we at Learning Vault are exceedingly passionate about and exceedingly excited to talk about for the entire aXcelerate community, and that's the future of digital certificates. For the purposes of today, though, I really want to just talk through what it is that Learning Vault does, a little bit of background into why we do it, why it's important, and what are the sort of capabilities that we'll be bringing to the aXcelerate community in the near term. Who are Learning Vault? And some of you may be synonymous with the Learning Vault brand, but effectively we do a couple of key things. We provide learning content. So we provide what we think is market-leading learning content in areas like SIT and BSB. Because we have an enormous catalogue of accredited and non-accredited learning content. We also have a micro-credentials capability where we sell and resell short-form learning content. And we've also been investing over the last couple of years in building what we think is a world-class digital credentials platform that helps both organisations and learning providers to provide those digital recognition awards for different parts of the learning achievement journey. And effectively, that's what we're going to be focused on talking about today. around that digital credentials space. So if we take a step back and think about lifelong learning, throughout a person's life, they're going to effectively accumulate a whole catalogue of achievements, awards, accredited learning milestones, or skills that they acquire throughout their life, their career, in various different facets and forms. And it's these very specific milestones that both employers and education and skills providers are really interested in understanding in the context of either offering someone further employment, further promotion, or potentially an offer for future study or other courses or related skills pathways. It's these particular milestones and these recognition steps that are really becoming the currency for which employers and education providers are looking to understand. And it's this where the Learning Vault and Learning Vault have been focused for some time. If we look at the evolution of educational credentials, I think historically, certainly in the past, most achievements and recognitions have been paper-based. You know, you get a certificate for a diploma, you get a paper-based certificate for a degree, you may be internal as part of your employment, you may have certificates based on different milestones of learning. As that sort of evolved, certainly people have been using PDFs as the digital way of sharing some of those recognition milestones. But more recently, this whole space has evolved because PDFs by their very nature are not really that secure. They're certainly open to interpretation, certainly open to fraud. And hence the whole concept of digital credentials has been created. And digital credentials now are becoming quite a sophisticated way of sharing some of those learning outcomes and learning milestones. And concepts such as encryption, portability, privacy, privacy control, shareability, machine readability all become really important to how you as an organisation may issue digital credentials to your students or employees in your organisation, and then how those digital credentials are persisted, shared, or used by a variety of different organisations. And we're involved in a number of really interesting programs, not only here, but internationally as well, around how digital credentials are really the currency for which education providers, governments, and employers, really want to understand more about prospective employees or prospective learners in their ecosystem. And how do we do that in a really secure and shared way? And so we've been building, and we have now at Learning Vault, a credential as a service platform that helps organisations issue credentials, but also a backpack capability that helps students store, share all of the learning achievements right across their lifelong journey as well. We have more recently evolved that again into providing a very specific capability that we call QVault. And that's effectively for accredited learning pathways where a certificate needs to be issued. How do we do that in a digital way with all the same functionality and capability of digital credentials, security, privacy, encryption, etc. And so we've evolved the QVault capability to be arguably Australia's first online certificate issuing technology. So for all of the accredited learning pathways where a digital certificate needs to be issued, we can do that in a way that's AQF compliant. We seamlessly integrate that capability into student management systems, and I'll talk about that further in a moment. But we provide all the things that are really important around how that digital certificate can then be shared, verified, and made secure from not only a privacy perspective, but also from a portability perspective. Because at Learning Vault, we're really interested in making sure that all knowledge is seamless, accessible for all. So the QVault capability means that those digital certificates that you produce are instantly verifiable, instantly shareable, 100% secure, and we conform to a whole range of both local and international standards, not only on the security side, but how both credentials and certificates are issued. More importantly, over the course of launching in February, at the end of February, that QVault capability will be seamlessly integrated into aXcelerate. What that means is that if you are wishing to issue digital certificates, there will be a seamless point-and-click capability to automatically create digital certifications to your students or employees at the touch of a button. That's a really exciting development and something that we're really proud to launch with aXcelerate across the next couple of weeks. If you've got any further questions, we do have a dedicated capability, Michael Poser, who's also on this call, who's part of the Learning Vault community, and he is a dedicated resource to help aXcelerate customers understand more about digital credentials and digital certificates. And we've also got a specific landing page for aXcelerate clients to learn more about and register their interest in webinars and future product releases that will be coming along shortly. So appreciate that's a really high level overview of what it is that we do. Please feel free to reach out at any time. And we look forward to the partnership that we have with aXcelerate and helping the aXcelerate community with these world-class capabilities. Thanks for your time.
All right, thanks for that, Michael. So just talking about how this is going to then end up looking in the system itself is essentially it will be largely to do with the way certificates are issued. So it will be integrated into the certificate issuing page to be able to send out either digital badges or QVault credentials as part of that area of the system. So as Michael was saying, this is planned to be released in this quarter and will be available for standard accounts. So you'll just have to go and get in contact with Learning Vault to sign up for their platform. And then as with other integrations, you'll be able to link in those account details within the aXcelerate system settings. And yeah, please feel free to get in touch with Learning Vault on more information on how to get started with them. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is another integration coming that we're also going to get a guest speaker to talk to as well, is an integration with Turnitin. So we've seen an increasing need for verifying the academic integrity of assessments in this day and age. And so that's why we've chosen to integrate with Turnitin with their similarity product to be able to offer plagiarism detection directly within our LMS. So essentially how it will work is you'll be able to submit assessment submissions through our system, and they will be able to be checked for plagiarism and return a similarity score. So similar to what we just did with Learning Vault, we're going to hand it over to Turnitin for them to talk a little bit about their platform and how this is going to work.
Hi, we are really happy to be here. My name is Julia, and I'm joined by Louis. So I think we can just jump to the next slide. Turnitin is really happy to join forces with leading education technology providers globally, and we are excited to integrate our products with the aXcelerate platform. By integrating our technology solutions, Turnitin and aXcelerate will offer a streamlined text similarity detection experience for our joint customers. The beauty of this integration is that you will be able to enjoy Turnitin's functionality within your familiar aXcelerate interface and workflow. And right now, our teams are working together to ensure seamless experience for aXcelerate users. So if we can just go to the next slide. I'm sure that most of you have heard of Turnitin before, but for those who are new to Turnitin, let me briefly introduce our company. We've been on the market for over 20 years. We are known for our integrity and assessment solutions. And we are a global company. We have offices all over the globe, and we're trusted by over 15,000 academic institutions. However, we do not only work with educators. We also work with a range of other customers, which include research institutions, individual researchers, government bodies, various government organizations. So our solutions are adopted by a really wide range of customers. And here I will pass it over to Louis to actually show you, to give you a sneak peek of our product and to walk you through the actual functionality of Turnitin Similarity.
Thanks, Julia, and thanks the aXcelerate team for allowing us the opportunity to not only present here, but obviously to partner as well. So just a little bit of a quick background on myself. I'm one of the new business reps here for Turnitin, and over the past almost 5 years, I've been working with RTOs to help them with their integrity practices. So I'm super excited to get a partnership up and running with an RTO-centric LMS, whereas before we didn't really have that option. So I think it will be a big win for both parties. We've got a few slides here just to give you a bit of a look into the functionality of our Similarity solution. Essentially, the basics is that this is a text matching software. So what it does is it'll match the student's text that they submit with a large database that we've cultivated over time. Of course, with a lot of archived internet sites, published works, and one of the big ones is our student paper repository with a lot of local content from TAFEs, RTOs, and private higher education providers. Of course, as you start to use our software, you build up your own paper database to prevent student collusion from within your institution. To add to that, we've also had to keep up with some tricky students over the years. So what they can do is try to, con the algorithm by replacing characters, inserting white text, inserting white quotes, and some of the cheaper solutions you may find out there will be tricked. So I've added a few other little features such as the document flags to see if there's anything suspect that has occurred, and that'll be part of the Similarity solution as well. What you get when you first open up a report is an overview of the Similarity level, not necessarily the level of plagiarism, as that's dependent on various other factors, but it'll give you a nice, neat report, and it'll list the main sources right there for you to see immediately. These will be color-coded and numerically coded as well. The text is, of course, highlighted, and you can go through all the sources, as matches of text can come from multiple sources, whether it be the internet or other students. Here in this little screenshot, it showcases the ability to get a side-by-side comparison on the report itself, and it's an interactive report. You don't have to go to the websites and fish around there. You don't have to Google things. It gives it all to you on the one screen, so you can match up what the student has submitted with the source that they've got the information from, and make a judgment on whether it's acceptable. You have the option to adjust the settings around what you're searching against and eliminate small matches, eliminate things such as quoted materials and the bibliography and citations, which will, of course, result in a match. It just gives you a bit more flexibility about what you're matching against and to what extent. There's, as we sort of alluded to before, text manipulations panel with hidden text and replaced characters. And new features are coming all the time. So citation detection and exclusion as well. And this just helps to reduce the false positives and give you a more accurate report to do with what's been, not correctly taken from another source. Make sure the references are correct and just give you the most accurate report possible. Also to help the students, because in a lot of our integrations and scenarios, the students can actually view these reports depending on the sort of settings workflow you're using, and it can be a great tool to help the students as well with their writing practices. Some students don't necessarily maliciously plagiarize, and this can be seen as a really good learning tool, particularly at the lower levels of education. Match exclusion, of course, if you see something and you think, no, that's okay, that's perfectly fine, you can simply choose to exclude that match and then provide a reason why. Providing a reason will help our system via machine learning to flag this automatically as time goes on. So this is just a bit more flexibility around the reports. This can be added, or the matches can be excluded whilst you're viewing the reports immediately. The other thing that's great is you can immediately download and print reports. A lot of RTOs come through and want to get our service because they've had a lot of back and forths with the students. This is unacceptable, and they say, no, this is my own work, etc. And they have to prove it if they're doing everything manually. But with this functionality, you can immediately download, print the report, send it off to a student support officer or whoever deals with the case of academic misconduct at your institution. And just a slide I've added in as well. I've been dealing with RTOs for years, so that's what the service does. But why would you need it? The main three I hear, one's academic integrity. So protecting the value of the degrees that you're provisioning. There's not much value to a degree where you can simply cut and paste the content. Doesn't really prove a level of learning, won't set up the students for entry into a workforce or for further education. Compliance, of course, is as well one of the AXcelerate requirements around authenticity. I think it's 1.8.2 or something thereabouts. Some RTOs will come through and say we've just undergone either an internal audit or been audited by AXcelerate themselves and our practices aren't up to scratch. And then there's also the time-saving element I alluded to before, with trainers just basically at sea with the amount of avenues there are to, cheat or borrow content these days. And even furthered now by the uprise in AI writing, it's just going to be impossible for trainers to do this themselves, whereas our system gives them the ability to do it immediately. I've seen instances of trainers copying and pasting every second sentence into Google, manually matching up student papers, and then this is either going to take them way too long or they're not going to get an accurate result. Also unfair, who do they do it to, who not? There's a whole lot of issues at play. And yeah, thanks. I believe Julian will be sharing my contact details, but there's another way to get in touch there. So it'll be me if you have any sort of questions, want sort of a demonstration of the software, or just want to get in touch. So yeah, thanks a lot to aXcelerate, and I'll hand it back.
Okay, well, thanks a lot from Lewis and Julia talking about the Turnitin platform. I'm really excited to be working with them and also to have them join us. So just a little bit of more information about how the integration will actually work. So basically it will be supported for file upload and short answer questions to submit that content through Turnitin and return a similarity score, which will look somewhat similar to what we've shown on the right-hand side of the screen there. So we're aiming to have this available within the Q1 quarter for Turbo accounts, because it is for the online assessments platform. So again, sign up with Turnitin and you'll be able to link your details within the aXcelerate system settings once it's been released. And as Lewis was mentioning, that you can reach out to him directly for inquiries. His details are there below. So the last integration we're going to talk about, which Dave has already alluded to a bit, is Outlook Calendar. I'll just be talking about this one. Bill was busy, but basically we've received a lot of feedback about syncing aXcelerate data with external calendars. So after we did Google Calendar, it really just reaffirmed that desire to also have it work for Outlook. We're going to, basically the integration will sync workshops and events with Outlook Calendar, as we've kind of already covered. And for those who are familiar with the Google Calendar integration, it will be largely similar to that. So you can expect that to be coming soon and be available for standard accounts. So moving on to the next one. So we've gotten a lot of feedback over the years really about how we understand the need for many training documents needing to be signed for compliance purposes. And so what we've seen a lot of our clients doing at the moment is taking documents that might have been generated within aXcelerate, taking them to external systems or having them printed out and be manually signed before manually uploading them into the system. So we're looking to address that by basically having a way to be able to request signatures for templates sent through the system. So essentially the way it will work is you'll be able to assign contacts to particular signatures embedded into a template, request that those signatories sign it, and then basically be able to track who has and hasn't signed it to be able to follow up those documents being signed. And then eventually when the document has been signed by everybody, then we'll store that within the contact portfolio. So we're hoping that we can basically eliminate some of those manual processes of taking data out of the system and putting it back in, and just have it all be much more streamlined. And we also understand that this aligns quite well with the work-based learning processes as well, in that needing to have the agreements for placements be signed by the employer, the trainer, and the student. So really bringing that all together has been a big focus of ours, and is really driven the need for having this system. And so that's what we're working on at the moment. So we're hoping to have that within the next or within Q2. So another one to talk about is question banks. So this is really a big significant upgrade to the assessment engine that we're working on, mainly for the authoring experience, but also touches a bit on the learner experience as well. So we understand that there's a need for randomized assessments to assist with academic integrity, in the sense that if you have the same questions being applied to multiple assessments, there's much more opportunity for academic misconduct. So the aim is to be able to have question banks, as we're calling them, to basically be able to have individualized assessments be generated based on a list of questions that you give to the particular assessment, and have that be different for each of the learners. So this is also aimed at improving the authoring experience by basically allowing the questions to be reused across assessments. So rather than needing to have a single question be written multiple times, if it needs to span across multiple assessments, you'll be able to essentially reuse that question and update it, and things like that, to improve the authoring experience. So a lot of the questions that you'll already have within the system will essentially be able to be reused account-wide, and you'll be able to create your assessments to then use that kind of randomization concept, which we're excited about offering. And again, because this is part of our online assessments platform, then it will be for Turbo accounts, and we're aiming again to have this out within the next quarter, which will be a really exciting addition to the online assessment system that we've really wanted to have be part of the offering for a long time. So I'll just touch quickly on this one. So this is an extension to contract reconciliation that we're working on. So that's a recent addition in the last couple of years that we've added support for Smart and Skilled for New South Wales government funded reporting recently. So basically the contract reconciliation tool, great for importing payments and being able to match them and allocate them to particular enrollments, to be able to track that funding and have it all within the aXcelerate finance system. But what we've seen is a need for being able to forecast the funding that's coming at the point of those enrollments being reported. So essentially when they're first reported, then the payment may not be received till it goes through that government funded body and comes back with the payment outcome. So essentially, we're working on an extension to this system to be able to manage and submit funding claims, as we're calling them, to essentially be able to say, we expect this money to be received at the point that we're reporting these enrollments, so that when you do receive that payment, you'll be able to then match that payment against what's claimed. And so this will help to, first of all, forecast the expected payments that you're going to be received to help your business run as a whole, and then be able to better identify payments that have been missed. If there's a claim but no payment, then there's it'll be much more obvious if there's something that needs to be amended. So yeah, that's something we're working on at the moment. Again, aiming for Q2 release. So a lot of this is just the stuff that we're really working on, hoping to land within generally the next 6 months. And it is an extension to the auto contract reconciliation system, then it'll be available for Turbo accounts. So this is one, and is probably the biggest feature that we're working on at the moment. It's essentially a new area of the system that Dave has really kind of already touched on, and we've already talked about in previous client forums, but just to talk a little bit more about it, it's essentially that way of having roles within the system and being able to have a competency framework developed to say that a particular role needs to be doing this type of learning. So essentially when that has been kind of set up, then you'll be able to have those users be able to browse content based on their organizational role and then be able to track their learning against it. So what we've talked about previously, and again, Dave touched on, is that we're close to completing that support for the CPD context. And that was the initial goal. But the way that we have developed it is a very broad framework to be able to support many different role-based learning scenarios. So where we're looking to go next with it is, again, more of that enterprise role-based learning system and not specifically for just CPD. But basically what we want to do now is get in touch with you and find out, how can you make use of this system? What are the kind of benefits that it can offer you? And how can we adapt the system to best meet the needs of our existing client base? So that's really where we are with it at the moment. And yeah, so we're really interested to hear from you. So that's why we'd like to have you reach out to us if you're interested to learn more. And we can start the discussions about how this can work for you and your business. So those are really the main big features that we're working on at the moment that we're able to kind of announce and talk about right now. Obviously, there's always so much more going on in the background, and this is really just the features we're talking about. There's always the platform and scalability and all the maintenance and things that we do to make sure the system is performant and usable and gives you the best experience that we can. So we are always continually improving the system. So that includes staying, responsive to what's on the ideas forum and just listening to customer feedback from all the avenues that we get. So if you do want to stay in the loop on all of the other things that we're improving in the system, the best place to get that information is the release notes, as well as the What's New videos, just wrapping up what we've added to the system. And then there are some other planned improvements that we're either working on at the moment or planning to start, but are a little less clear as to when exactly they will land. And some of these include some more assessment improvements, including adding conditions similar to work-based learning conditions for those who are familiar, as well as assessment authoring improvements. So that's as part of the question banks project. We want to do a bit of an overhaul of the authoring process to really make sure it's best in market. There's other things that we've heard a lot of feedback about, better learner onboarding. So that means making sure that learners have provided all of the contact details that they need to within the system. So within the learner portal, making sure that we track who's provided what and make sure that we've got all the information that we need. Dave touched on a bit with work-based learning activity goals. So that's being able to track the evidence that we've got against particular units and activities and work that sign-off process with supervisors, as well as some other, general system improvements, including, a rework of workshop locations, booking confirmation file attachments for your calendars to be able to add in an ICS file format for those familiar, and then more to do around system field configuration. So more customizability about what appears to your business. Because as we know, there's a lot that is within the system, and we want to make it customizable for everybody and meet their needs. So that's really everything from me. So now I'm going to hand over to Amina and Brendan. Oh no, sorry, to Wes to talk about some tips and tricks of some of the new systems that we've got.
Hey everyone, my name is Wes. You may remember me from some of the earlier shots when I had hair. But today I'm here to talk about just some of the sections, the newer sections of the system that Dave mentioned, that Julian mentioned, and just expand on those a little bit further. I guess my goal is to expose you to some of the settings and configurations that are available that will hopefully make your lives easier and also, improve the learner experience that you guys are delivering. So to begin with, we're looking at the help requests feature. So help requests are, there to facilitate real-time communication between your learners and your trainers or your administrators through a live chat style format. So my first tip with help requests is to set a notice message. This is something that Dave mentioned earlier, but being able to set expectations, set realistic expectations about your reply time, maybe your business hours. That goes a long way in managing the learners' expectation about when they can get a reply back. My second tip is to look through all of the configuration settings and decide what's going to be best for your organization. So an example of that is the dashboard widget location. You can have it in the bottom right-hand corner as a little live chat icon, or it can be in the top in the top navigation bar, and it sits more like a message function there. So it looks quite good. You can also determine when email notifications are sent, so whether requests are created or updated, and to whom receives those emails, whether it be students, trainers, or administrators. And my third tip is to really use the views inside the help requests UI just to filter out what you can see managed. So I'll just jump into my test account and show you what I mean. So this is the learner portal, but under the contacts menu here, I've got my help requests messages field here. And we can see on the left-hand side, I've got my shared views. So these are new requests that need attention. These views down here are my own views. So I've made them personally for myself as a user. So these are enrollment requests and all assessment related requests, and views are really quite easy to create. From the interface here, if I click on filters and columns, I can just choose any designation and then save that feature there. So if I wanted to say assessment related that are super important, priority, super important, I can create that new view here and give them a name. Nice and easy. So the next feature that I'll be talking about today, a work-based learning feature. So work-based learning has, obviously given you the ability to create and manage enrollment in aXcelerate that do have an element of work placement. Learners and supervisors can access those work placement activities and provide feedback and review entries through respective applications on their devices, whether it be a phone or a tablet. So my first tip here is to use the logbook export feature and the view filters just to configure what you can see on the screen. So what that does is it allows you to separate or to view by entry, so by logbook entry on a certain date, or by activity, or by unit of competency, if they relate to a unit of competency. My second tip is to use presets wherever possible. So presets in the work-based learning feature allow you to create expected placement schedules, expected placement activities, and then when you're creating a new placement, if you were to use a preset, most of the work is actually done for you. So this is a huge time-saving activity, can be very beneficial. My third tip is to just use the settings and configurations. They are your friend in this instance. So being able to use things like activity conditions and to decide what particular items about this activity are going to be available for the learner. Once again, huge time-saving feature. And finally, there, in-app learner signatures. So this one's actually coming in our code release this evening, tonight. So I don't have a display in the system for you, but very exciting that that's available. Just give me 1 second. Go change account. Sorry about that. So in our work-based learning area here, you can look at my logbook for this student, which is Wes student. And I can view by entry. You can see here that Wes has submitted a number of different logbook entries here. I can also view them by activity. So he's worn a hard hat on 3 separate entries. He's worn closed shoes on 3 separate entries, and he's assisted with compliance on another 3 different date sets there. Now, the export tool allows me to produce this in a PDF format. That is printable, of course. I can give this to my trainer or to the supervisor or to the learner, depending on what the requirements are. So this is a really handy little feature that we've put in the system, which will hopefully allow you to tie things up really nicely. I know some staff or some trainers, some organizations are still heavily paper-based. So this caters for both sort of aspects there, both points of view. The next item we want to talk about is the added authoring components in the system. So these are, as you can see in the screenshot there, we've got added a couple of their responsive columns. There are card blocks, there are styled numbered lists, collapsible sections, and so on. And these are all accessible in the system by navigating to an assessment. I open in authoring. And then all you got to do is right click anywhere in the authoring section, and this menu becomes available. So you can choose to add in any one of these new authoring components. And what they do is they obviously give you, another level of customization to your authoring, your assessment authoring, and to your assessment display. So they're very attractive, they're very appealing. These colored items will adjust to the color set in your system settings, except this info block, which is a hard-coded sort of color there. And it's just because of the reason for an info block. It has a really distinct purpose when it's featured in an assessment. So we've kept that one the same, whereas the others, such as this themed block, they will match your system settings color choices. And finally, the template builder improvements touched on earlier. So for those of you who've used the template builder for any amount of time, you will have noticed, there's some difficulty when trying to find dynamic fields, and he had to, the dynamic field accordion was at the bottom of the template builder. So you'd often have to scroll up and down your page. Whereas this new sidebar that we've created allows you to simply keep your page in one place and search the sidebar for the field that you're looking for. At one point there, we heard about a client who actually would open the template builder in 2 screens. So they'd have the template body in one and the accordion open in another, just so they can, mix and match and copy and paste. It made it a lot easier. So this new sidebar we've added aims to solve that kind of problem. So the tips here are obviously just to have better access to dynamic fields and to manual fields, and also to look at your multi-rows. So for those of you who have used multi-row fields, you'll know that there is a bit of setup involved. There is a bit of knowledge involved when it comes to including the IDs in the tables, whereas the new template sidebar does that all for you. So just over here, in this example, my template fields, I can simply search for something like a trainer. Oops, can't spell. We see here that the list filters out quite easily. And if I wanted to look for a multi-row field, I can also do the same here. So trainer, and then using this new section here, I can just click on the drop down and choose which trainer related fields I need. That's how the new template sidebar works. Now, that was a really quick session from me, but I'm going to hand over to Brendan and Amina just to talk about our support and engagement and how we communicate with you all.
Hey, hi everyone. Look, we know we are running close to the hour-and-a-half mark, so we're gonna try to get you out of back to your work day as soon as we can. So, Brendan and Amina, I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of us in the past from the support team, but we want to just give you a bit of a wrap up on what we did last year. Probably one of our most notable events was we got a chance to get back in touch with our customers post-COVID, getting up to our webinars again. We really enjoyed having a chance for the support team to get back out in front of our customers and giving you a bit more of a deep dive into some parts of the platform that the support team deal with on a daily basis. And they feel like they're little bits of information that make your lives a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ran 5 sessions last year. About 900 people attended those sessions. If you did miss any of them, they're all available on our YouTube channel. And I think they'll be linked in the email that you receive after this as well. That was last year. So what are we doing this year? Yesterday, we ran a session on about acing your event misreporting, which was, I think, a record for the number of people who registered to come along to that one. So we hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't attend it, I believe that one is also available on our YouTube channel. I'm getting a no. Great.
Yeah, it's good.
We have a few more running out for the rest of the year. We don't have one in February because we do appreciate it's a really busy month for everyone. So we will kick back off again in March with some ones on taxi. We'll run one on our learner help requests, work-based learning, templates, and a workflow session as well.
We would also love feedback on if there's any other parts of the platform that you would love us to do a webinar on. Just tell us in the feedback.
Absolutely. So as after today, we're going to get a survey as part of this as well, not only about the forum, but also about what you'd like to see from us for the rest of the year. So I think that one books us out till August. So we'd love to hear from you what you'd like to see for the rest of the time. Now, in terms of that, we mentioned obviously getting out and seeing everyone again and reconnecting with our clients. You would have seen us all around a lot of different events last year. So it was really great seeing everyone, having you come up to the booth, put your faces to names. We're able to troubleshoot some technical issues on the spot as well. So you will see us out together again this year as well with a number of key events in the education space.
Please do come along and say hello.
We love it. Oh, and get some merch too.
Yeah. Get
we also saw the return of on-site training because in 2018, 2019, we were doing a lot of face-to-face training and delivery, and obviously that kind of came to a halt. But now in a post-COVID world, we're able to kick it back off again. So if you are keen on training on-site versus online,
yeah, just reach out to us. We're more than happy to help facilitate that. So just come through the support team and they'll help you out.
Absolutely. So we do have a space here, or actually in it right now, dedicated for training. So we've got a new building within the whole precinct that we're in. If you've ever been to our office, we do have 2 buildings now. As Dave mentioned, the company's growing quite a lot. So we're able to host you here as well, or we can come to you. We're going to breeze through these ones. We will send a copy of this, obviously, but just to let you know.
We thought it'd be great for you to also be able to see the team that support you. We take your business very importantly, and we want to make sure we're there behind you every step of the way to give you the support you need. So a bit of touch base on the team. We've pretty much doubled the support group over the last 18 months. You may be questioning like what has happened to those other staff members. The good thing is the majority of our team that have progressed have gone through the business. We haven't lost them. They've just been able to step up. And that also means that we have technical and customer orientated individuals going to other parts of the platform that can then help shape that dynamic. So the team there, we've got our customer success reps and our advanced customer success reps. I'm sure most of the people on this call have all had a chance to deal with them. So please reach out to the support team if you ever need anything. And our implementation team. So a bit of a duo. We've got the support team to keep on the wheels on the bus, but we also have an implementation team to help you integrate into our business. So we have our onboarding consultants, we have our data migration specialists, and our online enrollment coordinators. They all play a very important part of getting new businesses into the aXcelerate platform, but also existing businesses. You might be not using the OEF forms, and they can definitely help you through that. So if you have any questions about other parts of the platform that you might not be using, reach out to us and we can get in touch. I'll let you handle this one.
This is an awkward one.
Yeah, this is you.
Hi. So in 2022, we've developed a few new roles here at aXcelerate as well. One being service delivery manager, and that's myself. We've also got a team of account managers, so Mark and Ash. So just a little clarification on what everyone does within those new roles. So the account managers can look after health checks. So if you'd like to, have a little system tune-up or a review on how you're using the platform, that's an account manager can help you there. They can also help you with obviously contracts, tier changes, making sure you're on the right sort of size agreement with us for your hopefully growing business. Myself, I work with create deeper relationships with our key and so larger size clients as well. So that's my role. And I think I've met a few of you on the call today as well. And just backing up on what everyone was saying about subscribing and getting in touch with us, there's lots of different ways to keep up to date with what we're doing. So we've got our release notes that you can subscribe to, our status page you can also subscribe to, all of our socials, and our YouTube channel in particular.
I think the saying is like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and
let's do that.
subscribe. Let's do that. Let's do that. So I think that was it. But look, at this point, guys, we've seen that all our team has actually answered all of your questions live in chat, which bodes well for timing. So we will skip through that and let you know that the recording and resources that we've referenced in this session will be available soon to you. And we'll be getting that out on email either by close of business today or tomorrow, I believe. So keep an eye on your inbox for that one. And we just want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's been great for all of us to connect with you. And hopefully you've learned a few bits and pieces, but do feel free to respond to that survey that we send out to you soon. Enjoy all the resources, and any questions that we may not have got to in the chat that for technical reasons, jump through to Help and Support Centre. Thanks so much, guys.
Have a good one.